Okay, in this video I'm just going to go over the actual interface. When you start up the TCS Tube Master program, or Fab Master program, this is the main screen. This imports a license. Direct it to look where we put the license file. If you bought the computer from us also, then it will be, of course, already set up. So I'm going to import my license. Do you want to use this license file? Yes. So now it's a licensed program and will generate G-code. There's two icons down here. This icon of a torch is actually where we generate G-code. This icon is actually where we either import our 3D model or conversationally program it. So we click that. First thing that's going to show up is you're going to have different shapes here depending on what license file you have. In this particular case, we have both round and box. This button imports a CAD 3D model. This covers all of our views, our different viewpoints. We can also, of course, orbit view it. So let's do an example of importing a CAD. So we choose CAD. I go to somewhere I have a 3D model. So there's part 1. It's a step file. I choose open. My part shows up. It tells me here what it is. It knows that it's 2 inches by 2 inches with a 1/4 inch wall thickness. Excuse me, 1/4 inch radius. And an 1/8 inch wall thickness, and the length is 12 inches long. Of course, you can move this around now and see what this part is. Okay, so we can just take this, and this was generated in Autodesk Inventor. Anything that'll generate a 3D step file with your parts will actually work. So at this point, I can just take this, and this is how we would unwrap it. It works exactly like in the other video with the conversation, except that we've already drawn it somewhere else. At this point, we would give it a name. I'm going to name it the same thing I've already had before, which is okay. And of course, we can go here and generate our G-code. Make sure that we have our customer name, job, contract, and the material. And there it is there. And we can nest it, tell it how many we want, and nest it, and we get our nesting report, and we generate G-code. Now, with that, where is all this generated G-code located? Well, it goes into a program, a file called work. And I have that a desktop shortcut here. So in here, you can see I have in the work cutting data folder, I have 2 different jobs at the moment. I have 2 different customers, LDR and Smith. So if I go to Smith, it's then broken down further by what the actual job name is. So I have this one that I named round 6, square 2, and square 4. So in square 4, we then have our different programs. These are what will be loaded into the machine to actually cut out. So if we go back here to the beginning again, our conversational, once we pick it and we define what the material is, okay, you can see that we have 6 inch with 0.3 inch wall, 24 inches long. These are all the options we have available to us to work with it. We can do arraying holes. We can choose the hole type as round, square, or triangular. Of course, you get different selections depending on what type of hole it is. For example, square, we can do a rectangular, not a square, but a 2 inch by 4 inch hole with a radius or no radius. We can position the holes depending on from the left or from the right of the tube, how far, and then what we want to use as our baseline, the center line, the edge of the tube, or the radius of the tube. We can enter our center offset, an angle. We can put an angled hole in the pipe. We can rotate it around the pipe and twist it. So we could have our square hole and then twist it 45 degrees. Once you define your hole and where the location is, you can now do an arraying, a pattern. So you could have 3 of them, an inch apart, and do 2 different rows, and the rows are an inch apart. It's really unlimited on what you can do. Through holes, you can either select that you want it to go all the way through, so on both sides across from each other, or none all the way through. Okay, this is a simple miter. You click this, and we can actually tell it from what end, and from the bottom, the angle, or we can give it a length. You don't know the angle, but you know how long you want this to be. You can tell how long it is. Same thing with far end. This is a notch. Do a shape like this. We can control everything about it. And of course, it just automatically draws it. And this is a cope. We can flip our tube. We can also undo or redo. And this is our color palette. We can control what we want the colors to look like. We can change that. And then our unrolling. So it's actually very simple to use. If you create something, for example, I am going to apply this and just click OK. So we now have a tube that looks like this. We can actually export this and bring it into another program such as Autodesk Inventor or SolidWorks. We can export it as a step file and bring that into somewhere else if we wanted to work with it. And that is it.